jugamos desde Bridgeport, tú bien sabes quién soy yo. Desde niño fui jodido, ahora me miran y me ven cowboy. Quítense que voy, puesto en el convoy.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel, Tries Podcast. I'm your host, Leo. And once again, that's my primo Chino Mac, Sombrero 100X. You guys should check him out, man. It's a really dope-ass song. Shout out to my primo. So today, it's kind of a special episode, man, that I'm going to dedicate to my boy Champ. He's a lifer doing time right now, right here in Washington State. Caught life on a third strike. And you know, he's an African American brother, man, that I became really close to. And what better day to speak on it than MLK Day, right? You know, in a lot of my videos that I speak about my experience, right, I don't really get to dive into my really emotional state, like what I was feeling, my thought process, you know, my psyche. And this is one of the things that brought a lot about emotion to me today, right? As I'm doing this video. Woke up this morning, I started really thinking about my boy Champ, man. You know, how good of a friend he was to me, how good of a human being he was to me, for that matter. Because, man, having a friendship with a black African American brother, man, and me being a Chicano, and especially with the people that I was with at the time, you know, it's frowned upon, man. And that's just a fact. You know what I'm saying? And coming from the town that I come from, there's not really a lot of African Americans, you know, that live there. So the first time that I experienced being around the black brothers was when I got locked up, and you know, it was right away. You know, you start getting taught, like, hey man, don't be sharing your food with these people, don't be doing this with these people, don't be sharing it with these people, you can't sell up with these people. You know, there's a lot of rules and regulations, man, that goes along with that lifestyle, and that's something, and that's why I want to talk about this, right? Because me growing up, man, I mean, I used to listen to you know, like all of us, like a lot of young Chicanos, right? We grew up listening to Dr. Dre, Tupac, we Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, you know, Players Club. You know, we grew up on black culture, so to speak, you know what I'm saying? And for me to go into there, like I said in my previous videos, I had to become somebody else in order to survive in there, right? But this one guy, man, that when I met him in church, right? When I was at Column Bay, I was at the Bay and I was in church. And then the way I befriended him was he spoke Spanish to me, and he used to be married to a Mexican woman, right? And that's how we became friends. We'd go to chow together, we would go to a yard together, we would do a lot of things together, man. And you know, the powers that be at the time, like I said, man, in Washington State, a lot of the politics are mimicked by California State. You know, whatever California does, Washington State tries to implicate, as far as like politics go, prison shit goes, right? And that racism shit is one of the things that's really heavily implemented in the prison system. You know, as far as you know, the tables you sit at, the phones you use, you know, the people you can hang out with on the yard, and things of that nature. And I understand it from a perspective of living that lifestyle where you gotta stick with your own people and stuff like that. But what happened between me and Champ, man, was you know, we started getting real close. We started hanging out every day, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, he's like a mentor to me. He's like 20 years older than me, man. And one of the most nicest people, man, you'll ever meet. Like I said, this dude's like 6 foot something, man. He's like 2 something, big old black dude, right? Savage, man. And so a lot of people, man, during that time, they started, you know, talking about like, hey man, what's D doing, man, hanging out with this dude all the time, you know what I'm saying? He's getting too close to him, man. Like, they started feeling uncomfortable with the fact that I was really close to Champ, you know what I'm saying? And he was black. So, and now that I think about it as a man, I started looking at it as like they were just afraid, man, that he was gonna stray me away from, you know, from that lifestyle. Like, he was gonna keep me away from doing all that time potentially in the hole that I ended up doing. And he would always tell me, man, like, man, Deep, get away from that, man. You know what I'm saying? Them dudes, they ain't got love for you like that, man. You know, them dudes, you know, they just want to use you right now, you know, so to speak. But, you know, me being the person I was, I didn't listen, man. And sure enough, man, one day, so like I said, time goes on, man. We're chilling, you know what I'm saying? We're getting to know each other, man, like friends, man, you know what I'm saying? Talking about our past, our families, you know what I'm saying? And why he caught his strike. I talk about my crime. And one day, you know, when I was out in the yard, I was approached by some homies, right? And I was approached by some homies, and they were pretty much telling me, man, like, hey, man, you know, you need to ease up, man. I'm chilling with this dude so much, you know what I'm saying? Like, they weren't liking it. they were pretty much like, you need to be over here with us, you know, just in case something pops off or something like that. But you know what, to be honest, man, Champ was a dude that dude would ride to hell and back for me, man, no matter who we were against, what we were against. Like, he's that type of dude, right? And uh and so they came and pretty much told me, man, like, pretty much, man, you need to quit hanging out with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, that shit don't look right, because everything's an image, right? In prison, everything's an image, man. And now, as a grown ass man, I look back now, and I get like it brings back a certain emotion in me, man. That at that time I had to, like I said, I had to suppress, right? Because I couldn't survive in there if I would have been like, and maybe I should have done that, right? Maybe I should have stuck up for myself. But you know, when you're in that situation, man, I don't care what nobody tells me, man. Unless you were in my shoes in that situation, you can't tell me nothing. You know what I'm saying? And Champ understood, because one day, after you know, we talked in the yard, like, don't get me wrong, I was like, man, what's up, man? Why you guys tripping, man? Like, that's my friend, you know, that's my brother, man. And because I was naive, like I said, I had just barely started doing time. I just put in a little bit of work. I was at this new prison when I met Champ, and you know, these dudes were like, hey, man, that's just how it is, you know, and there's nobody that's bigger than the ride, you know, and by that I mean there's nobody that's gonna go against the decision that the majority says, right? Like, if I would have done that, it would have been over for me. So one day we go to Chow, and we're at the bay, right? And I always sat with him, right? If he was sitting down when he went to Chow, I would go and I would find him and I'd sit down with him, right? And you know, it was just, man, it was just a pleasure being around him, man. Like being in that situation, being in prison, facing all them years still that I had in my sentence left, man. And knowing his situation, how he had to do life, you know, it was a special bond that I had with him, man. And so when these dudes, you know, were like, hey, man, you can't be his friend, pretty much, so to speak, right? And it sounds so like middle schoolish, you know what I'm saying? Now that I talk about it, but it's life and death in there, man. There's nothing middle school about it. So, you know, they told me that he came. I went into Chow first one day. He came after me, and you know, he tried to sit down. He sat straight down and sat down. Like, hey, homie, I gotta talk to you, man. But I think he knew right away, man. He knew right away by the look in his eyes. He knew that because he had seen me walk in the yard with the homies, and he knew, like, fuck, man, like, they're gonna tell him, you know, because he knew I mean, he's an old school convict, man. He knows the drill, you know. And so when he sat down, I was like, hey, homie, you know, I'm sorry, man, but I gotta fall back. You know what I'm saying? I can't, and then I talk about it now, man. I guess I get angry at myself, man. You know what I'm saying? Because I shouldn't have done that. You know, he was a really good friend of mine. You know, one of the best people that was to me when I was in there in prison, man. Like, he really was mentoring me, looking out for me, man. And you know, for some people that were intimidated by him, you know, intimidated by the fact that he was schooling me and things of that nature, man. It just seems like there's a lot of people in prison, man, when it came to me, they didn't want me to reach such a high level, right? I don't know what it was, man. And I don't know what it was with Champ, that a lot of people hated on him, you know what I'm saying? But I'll tell you this, they wouldn't say that shit to his face, you know what I'm saying? Like, anybody that ever said something about him would never say it to his face. Like I said, man, that dude was a beast. But anyways, man, I told him, man, like, he knew, man, but in his eyes, he was just like, I let him down, you know, he was disappointed. But he understood, like, fuck, I aligned myself and I put myself with a certain group that has certain rules and regulations that I had to abide by, no matter how I felt about it. You know, that I followed along, you know, and that's the craziest part, is that I followed along. That doesn't ever escape my mind, that I followed along, and that's not in my nature, man. But anyways, so, you know, we start, and after that, our friendship, man, was distant, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I'd say what's up to him, he'd say what's up to me, things like that, and we see each other in the yard, man. But it was a lot different, man, you know what I'm saying? And I carry some type of anger inside of me, man, towards them people that made me do that, you know, that didn't make me because I was a man at the time, right? But I mean, what could I do? I'm a young kid, right? And I've already pledged myself to this group. Like, this is what I'm gonna dedicate my time to. And you know, Champ understood that, man. But I never got the chance to apologize as a man, to look him in the eye and be like, that was wrong of me, you know, because it was, man. And I miss him, man. I got a lot of love for him, man. And you know, later on, because I ended up leaving. I ended up catching a program there at Column Bay. If you guys have seen my previous videos, I ended up catching a program there, getting shipped out of that prison. I got sent out to another prison, and I didn't see him for years, right? I didn't see him for years. Then I ran into him again, like in my last video where I talked about I was in Walla Walla, in 6th Wing. That's where I met up with Champ again, man. And I go out to yard one day. Man, And I haven't seen him in years. You know what I'm saying? We kept in contact a little bit here and there through letters. Through fiance that he had, and one day I go out to yard, man, and I'm walking the yard and I just see this big old black figure, man. You know what I'm saying? Like big old, probably the biggest black dude that's on the yard, man. And the dude's black, like charcoal black, man, like crunchy black from 3 6 Mafia, man. and but that was my boy, man. And when I seen him there in the yard, man, and he seen me, he's like, "Hey, man, what's up, D?" And I, gave him a hug, man. And we walked the yard, man. Probably it was like a 3 hour yard. We walked the whole time, man, just talking about, catching up on our lives, man. And I ended up, like I said in my previous videos, I ended up getting another. I ended up getting shipped out to the West Complex, caught a program out there. But yeah, man, that guy, I've been trying to get in contact with him, you know what I'm saying, and I haven't had any luck yet. But yeah, man, I just want to touch upon that, man. And in this episode, you know what I'm saying, I wanted to talk about how it feels to be put in a position like that, you know what I'm saying, and for young kids to understand, like you may have a friend right on this. Imagine that on the streets, man, to a group of people telling you, hey, you can't be friends with this guy. You know what I'm saying, man? You know how absurd that sounds, you know? And at the end of the day, I only have myself to blame, man. I don't blame nobody else. I should have stood up. I should have done something, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, I woke up this morning, man, it was heavy on my mind. And hopefully he sees, I get to see him one day, even if I could go visit him, but this is, and that made my decision a lot easier when I decided to walk away finally, because I'm like, man, these certain people don't care about me, man. And I care so much about what other people thought that I gave up a real friendship, man. And that wasn't the first time. And later on, we're going to get into that. But, that dude, man, would have done more for me than 90% of the dudes that I went over to the hole for. For people that went to the hole, that I did all these missions over, they wouldn't do half the shit that Champ would have done for me, man. And those are the things that really, like I've said in my previous videos, that those feelings that I had to get rid of, right? Because when I told Champ that, I felt bad, man. I go back to myself, but and during that time, my mentality was like, hey, man, stop that. My mind created this protective mechanism, right? To where whatever happened the day before, I could erase it from my mind. No matter who I hurt, no matter who I did wrong, it didn't matter. The next day, I would forget about it like nothing ever happened. And I carried that out here to the streets, and so it was a blessing and a curse. Because in there, it was a blessing because I didn't self-destruct over the things that were happening on that I had no control over, but then I got so used to that my mind doesn't, when I got out to the streets, it was the same thing. I could go hurt somebody. I could go do anything, right? I could go cheat on a girl. I could go do anything, man, hurt somebody. And the next day I'd act like nothing happened, because that's a defense mechanism. But now that I've been speaking about all my experiences in prison, that defense mechanism is slowly breaking down, and there's times where I just catch myself where it's like, I can't even explain the emotion. It's like a rush, man. It's a rush of emotion, and it goes from being happy to being extremely sad, man, and because I know those are those feelings that I held back in order to survive, you know what I'm saying? But, I deal with it the best I can, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not, and this is the thing, man. There's nobody that's going to tell me how to be as a man that during the time that I had done, doing the assaults that I had committed, all the time that I spent in solitary confinement. Unless you have done more than I have done, there's nobody that can tell me, hey, man, you're too emotional. Hey, man, you're too in this. Trust me, I shut off my emotion for 10 years, for a decade. You know what I'm saying? And that wasn't easy. It wasn't easy shutting off your emotions, because sometimes you lose control about it. You're no longer in control of it. You know what I'm saying? And it's a hard thing to deal with. But, here I am. And I know that my homie Champ would be proud of me. And like my family, you know what I'm saying? And everybody that's around me, they see, that know me personally. They see, man, that the progress that I'm making. And like I said, man, don't think that this happened overnight, man. I came out of prison, and I was still hanging out with the same type of people, you know what I'm saying? And here's one thing that I'm gonna say, man. Here's one thing. That dude Champ was the type of dude, man, that made me, thinking about him today, as a matter of fact, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, man, this guy, right? Those people that told me, hey, you can't hang out with him, right? Those people those type of people have done me dirty, even on the streets, right? Have done me dirty, and something that he would never do, right? And he's an African American. He's a brother. The people, they would try to put me against him, and he would never try to hurt me like that, man, like some people have. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing, man, that people got to understand. Like, don't sit there and let people tell you this is the way it is. It's not. It is the way you're gonna make it be. You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, don't be afraid to stand up for yourself like I was, you know, and that's the mistake. And that's why I do these videos. I'm not looking for clout, man. I'm not looking for fame. I'm not looking for none of that. I'm just trying to bring awareness to people like that are in the streets that want to, like, hey, man, I don't care. Trust me, you're going to care one day. You're going to care one day. And if you don't, during the time that you're doing your desmadre, you're going to care when you get to the old age like me. You know what I'm saying? And I was just lucky enough to get out of that situation because of my family, because of my you know, couple of friends that I had that like my crimey Ray, you know what I'm saying? Like people like that, man. But anyways, this is where I'm going to end up this video. I just wanted to do a quick, you know, video about my boy Champ and how, you know, the situation was with him and dealing with racism in there, and how we can all learn from each other, man. Because let me tell you this, when I got used to being around African Americans, man, I started understanding, you know, more of the way they live, more of their culture. Like I said, I grew up on, you know, Men's Society, Tupac, all the stuff that young Chicanos grow up on. But as I got older, you know, I'm starting to listen to Sade, Teddy Pendergrass, Al Green, you know what I'm saying? Patti LaBelle, Etta James. Those are, and that's cool. That's their culture, you know what I'm saying? But I love it, you know, just like I love my culture. And that's the thing, man. Don't think, always love your culture, but don't just be shut in, you know. Learn about other cultures, man. See the beauty in everybody else's culture around the world. And with that, man, I'm gonna say this. So I'm gonna do a $100 giveaway of Mexican candy, beverages, snacks before I end this video. So the way that you're gonna be able to enter that contest is you gotta like, share, and comment. So what you're gonna do is on this video, you're gonna comment a number, any random number that I'm gonna put into a drawing, and then tomorrow I'm gonna pull it and see who wins. So go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe, or I mean comment and you know what I mean, man. You guys have a good night, man. I'm out.